All right, each and every week, we all know it's always exciting to see where your team lands. All right, are they at the top of the food chain? Or are they just riding tide at the bottom? Maybe they're in the middle and they're just working their way up. AJ Black gives us weekly rankings. So we're going to talk to him about how the process is broken down so you can figure out where your team might land week after week. Good games, bad games, and all the like. Let's get it started.
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to today's edition of Locked On ACC. I'm your host, Candace Cooper, mumbling and stumbling through the first part of this read, but we get it going, make it things shake. Thank you for making me your first listen each and every day. So excited to have my rotating cast of guys who are always willing to give me their best takes. Make sure you follow at Locked On ACC on Twitter. You also subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're always there and excited to have you. So on every Wednesday, for those who are new to the group, because we have quite a few followers, which I'm so appreciative of, a lot of listeners, AJ Black of Locked On Boston College joins the show to give us his weekly rankings during football season. Now, he, on this episode, is going to give us a breakdown of these shows. We're doing a little segment action where we mix things up. But, I want AJ to start with a little background of himself so you guys are fully aware of just how much of an expert he is. So, AJ, welcome to the show.
Hey, Candace, thanks for having me on. Yeah, expert, man. You're really making me giving me. Okay, so so I'm the host of Locked On Boston College. I'm also the publisher of 247's Eagle Insiders. I do all that. I was just right before we got on the air. I had a sleeping baby on me as I was applying for my credentials for the year. So
Nice.
that made me feel like college football is right around the corner and
100%.
And I'll be at practice on Friday.
Nice.
Which is the kickoff for BC summer practices. So,
Yeah.
I am around the program. I know my stuff, I think. I always have a good take, I hope. So,
Yeah, of course. And how's the weather up there in Chestnut Hill? We know we don't get to talk much about that side of town.
So right now it was 87 today, so not too bad. It's raining right now, but it's gonna be 102 tomorrow. And so I have all the air conditioners blasting nonstop right now and I'm gonna be ready for this. I'm gonna be sitting right in front of it as I do my work for my website tomorrow, and hopefully it gets a little cooler by Friday because I don't want to see all these big athletic football players watching my sweaty, trying to watch them practice as I melt.
Absolutely. Listen, I totally understand. And speaking of heat, every week it seems that when you give your takes and rankings, you got to get on the hot seat because people really be coming at you whenever you drop these, which means people are listening and dialed in and are really excited about it. So we're going to give the people what they want each and every week when it comes to weekly rankings during football season. And we're going to give you a breakdown of how it's going to go. You're going to have a top three from each division, right? While we have our last year divisions. Then we're going to do the bottom of each division. And then we're going to have our number one overall. So I think that was a pretty good breakdown. But, for how you assess teams, it would be good to know for people when they're like, all right, I'm ready to argue with AJ or I'm going to chill out. What is your thinking when you're doing some rankings or even when maybe not just here, but anywhere? What are you kind of things that you factor in?
So preseason right now, before this games are even played, I'm just looking at the current state of each program. Going into the season, where does this program look like they're going to head? Like, what's the projection? Just where I watch them, up the ladder, are they going to go? So I use that kind of as my meter for that. And as the season goes along, I kind of adjust it and tailor it as the games go on. So a game like if Clemson plays like, Savannah State or some FCS school, I'm not going to put much weight into that. But if Clemson goes out there and smokes Georgia Tech by 40 points, that's how I do that. Now, I have to admit right off the bat, if you guys are junkies with stats and spreadsheets and all that kind of stuff, that ain't my game. I am not a huge stat person. I'm an eyeball test kind of guy. So, I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, well, Clemson's offensive line is third in the country on, running blocks inside the 20. No, not me. I am not into that. I will tell you what I watched, what I thought, and that's where you're going to get.
Yeah, listen, I appreciate anyone who can give it to you straight because at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day, if they can't pass the eye test, then what is it all really for? Sometimes it doesn't matter what the stats say, it matters how people deliver on the field. So I'm totally aligned with that. I'm in agreement, and I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, and
And yeah,
I
go
mean,
ahead.
and the great thing about doing this for the ACC is that last year, at least when Candace and I did this, it was like juggling every week. It was, it took a while for Pitt and Wake Forest to kind of assert themselves near the top, but everywhere in the middle there, it was like this team was there now. No, that team's there now. Nope, and it was like all 12 teams, 12 different teams kind of juggling in those middle rankings. So it gets interesting, especially near the beginning of the season while things are starting to kind of settle down a little bit.
1,000%. And I think going into this year, it'll be more of the same because if we're really looking at lists, a lot of people are making the argument that the Atlantic and the Coastal really, it's anybody's game. Like, yes, it's
Yep.
top heavy in certain aspects of the Atlantic, but for the Coastal, it could be anybody. We say it every year, but at the same time, there's so many new faces, so many new systems, so many new coaches. You just don't know what you're going to get. And so for me, I'm just excited to see it shake up week after week with all of your rankings. Do you feel like there's going to be a lot of shakeups going into this year?
Absolutely. Especially the Atlantic.
Yeah.
As you just mentioned, like, I'm gonna get into who I think is what, but like there are 4 or 5 teams that easily one team could rocket up my rankings because they played so well. And maybe I was wrong on, doubting a certain player or their ability to do X, Y, and Z. And we'll see examples of them being able to do that. And I think that will help that'll help all that shuffling going on. The Atlantic is going to be crazy this year. I'm telling you right now, like a million, there was a million different iterations. It's like the end of, well, not even the end. It's the middle of Endgame, or I think it's Endgame, where Doctor
Come
Strange
on,
says,
Marvel. Yeah.
he says, I saw 14 million different endings of this and only one where we win. That's like a Boston College fan right there. I saw 14
Yeah.
million iterations of how this is going to go, and BC's going to win in that one. Yeah, so a lot of different things. I think that's what makes talking about it so much fun is that there's so many arguments you can make, and I can't wait to have 14 different fan base call me stupid in the YouTube comment sections. I love it. It doesn't hurt me at all. Bring it on.
Yes, we love someone who has very thick skin because you're gonna need it for this show. Like it can't even hold you. It always comes down to people just getting in their feels, but that's fine. We love the feedback. So make sure you subscribe to the Locked On ACC and Locked On Boston College podcast. And you mentioned the Atlantic being tough. I feel like I can make a case for dang near every team, which makes it more enjoyable for us. And I think that'll help with the top 25 conversation as we put more on the board, and also with the Coastal, maybe having some of those Coastal Atlantic matchups will certainly favor the Coastal teams. Who knows? They can have some upsets, and then you throw a wrench in the system as we're heading towards our last year of divisions. But nice enough, we have all the things. We're going to go into the top 3 in each division. I want to get AJ's thoughts here. And if you're getting ready to bet on any of these matchups going into the 2022 ACC football season, strongly encourage you to hit up betonline.net. The fastest and easiest way to check on all of your sports betting needs. You can find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about the action happening today in Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, and more. BetOnline is sincerely where the game starts. There's a lot of betting action, like who is going to make it out of camp over there in what is it, the NFL. All the offseason drama seems to have died down a bit for the NBA with Kevin Durant and the like. But, there's always something going on in our major league sports. Juan Soto going to the Padres, like that's crazy to me. Nationals, I don't know what y'all are doing. Like that's an aside, but baseball is really like the money is just insane. Like we think NIL deals are big, and then you start looking at MLB contracts, and you're like, yeah, not even touching. Not even the same kind of stuff.
Not even the same galaxy.
Did any of your the Red Sox, was that pretty even keel? Like
they
crazy?
traded their starting catcher,
Okay.
and they traded someone else. It wasn't anything big. So it was actually for the Red Sox who have been playing like garbage. I was expecting them to fire sale their entire team. They actually didn't do that.
Well, there you go. Well,
Yeah.
look, we're not fire selling the ACC here right now. We're making sure that all of our teams feel good and confident going into the year. So we got top three. We're gonna start with the Coastal because I know that's not your favorite. And I would love to just get that one out of the way for you. Top
Yep.
three Coastal teams you have going into the year. Who you got at number three? Let's do three first.
So 3 was a tough one because there was a couple, and it came down to UNC and UVA. And
Okay.
as doing this rankings for over a year, and you know where I'm going to go with this, Candace. I'm going to go with UVA here because UNC broke my heart too much last year as I gave them way too much faith. So until they can prove it to me, I'm going to go with the Cavaliers here.
Yeah.
You know, I love watching Brennan Armstrong play. They've got two great wide receivers who could both be all ACC. Dontavius Wicks, and I'm totally blanking on the other kid's name. And if they can get any semblance of defense, they can figure some way to get them to not give up so many points. It could be a really fun team to watch this year. I don't think they're good enough to be an elite team in the ACC or a team to win the Coastal, but I like them at number 3. I think that's a good spot for them.
Yeah, I think you're mentioning Keaton Thompson, who is like the football
Yes.
player who could do all things. And, being a wide receiver, now he's focusing on that after listening to my media day. And Tony Elliott certainly knows a thing or two about wide receivers, and especially at a high level. We've seen Clemson have a whole slew of them. So I think it'll be a great connection for the two. And then, of course, Brennan Armstrong staying healthy will be essential for the Cavaliers. All right, number 2, who we got?
All right, so number 2 for me is the Pitt Panthers.
Okay.
I'm buying on them this year. As Keem Slovis, I liked him when he was with USC, and I was surprised that they just dumped him because I thought he had good. You get Caleb Williams, I get it, and I don't know the timeline there, but whatever it was, he ended up in Pitt. Frank Signetti, their new offensive coordinator, should be able to get him into a nice style offense to get that ball rolling again, where they were really good last year, but they moved on from their offensive coordinator. Losing Jordan Addison is scary, but they've got some great wide receivers also. So Pitt should be good, and I think they've got some really good talent on that defense. So
Yeah.
I was debating between 2 and 1 here, but if you've listened to Locked On ACC with me on Wednesdays, excuse me, you know who I'm going to pick for number 1, but we'll get to that.
100%. Like I think Pitt no longer can be the team that nobody expected to come out and be really great. Like we're past that, right? They certainly have a great coach in Narduzzi. He's bought into that Pitt culture and he's really made it his own. And, not for nothing, the defense has certainly improved. They weren't the best last year, but Kenny Pickett certainly made up for some of the gaps that they experienced. And now you're going to have to put up or shut up on both sides of the ball, but I think they can handle it. Now, number 1, I'm pretty sure I know, but go ahead and throw it out there.
Yeah, I'm holding up the U sign right now.
Okay.
Tyler Van Dyke, I think, will be the best quarterback in the ACC this year.
Really?
That's my hot take right now. I think he's got it. Especially with Mario Cristobal and that offense. Josh Gaddis is their new offensive coordinator. That's going to be a fun offense to watch. They could very well. This is Miami we're talking about, and we're on to 20 years now of the U being back. I think this year they've got enough, and I think they're going to be a fun team to watch if you like Miami.
Yeah.
And I think this will be their year. I think they're going to win the Coastal.
So now that I'm coming to my senses, which again is always crazy, and I can change my mind any time of the day, but it's like Miami I always want to feel good about them. Like they're always a decent team. However, they still have the fact that they have now won the ACC is wild to me. Like when you really put up stats and just sit there and say, I'm like, how is that even possible? As good as Miami has been as a football program, and I understand, the conference changes and all the good stuff, but just really, seriously, Miami hasn't won, and yet every year we say viable contender, De'Aaron King, he might change the game. Bubba Bolden and on defensive side, things might be great. And I swear to you, I thought De'Aaron King was going to come in and kill it. But I also said to myself, coming off a knee injury and rushing back is going to be very challenging. And it certainly proved itself in that opener when they had one hell of an opener against Alabama. It was pretty much downhill from there. Now, say all that to say, Miami certainly has, someone at the quarterback position who's certainly ready to not only talk the talk, but walk the walk. So that's, one of the hardest parts is getting your quarterback to help lead. And now to see him a year older, stronger, all the things, and have a disciplined coach, you might be in trouble. Everybody might be in trouble.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. It just seems like for the first time that they've actually they have the reputation of being a big time program, but for the last 20 years, look at who they've hired, look at the roster that they've had. Do they look like a big time program? Mark Rick was nice when they had him, but like he was like he was on the back nine before he ended up with the ACC and network. But now they've got the coach, the hot quarterback. They are landing 5-star recruits all over the place. Follow Locked On Cat Canes with Alex Dono. He's blowing things up over there. That guy's he's doing like 11 episodes a week. I don't know where he has time to do that, but that's the level of excitement that's around that program right now. He's 100% it perfectly, right? Well, I think that is just where this program is right now. There's a level that hasn't been there for 20, 25 years now, and I think this might be the year.
Yeah, and I also think that no one has been like super vocal about like it being upset about the Mario Cristobal hire. Like, some people are like, we'll see, but not really the way they were like, man, he did. It's not giving the same like disgruntled energy. But all that to say, it's time for the Atlantic conversation. So we're gonna go with number 3. Who is the top 3? Who's the third best team here in the Atlantic so far?
So, as a Boston College. Covering Boston College, I was tempted to put them there, but I'm not because I need to see them. I need to see that first game against Rutgers. They go out there and they spank the Knights. I will definitely consider it. Number 3 for me right now going into the season's Wake Forest.
Okay.
I like the Demon Deacon. Sam Hartman is electric. That offense last year was something special. And it's just going to be interesting to see if the Demon Deacons can repeat what they did last year, where they went out there and scored a ton of points against everyone they played against. Will any defense, looking at you, Clemson, be able to slow them down? And I think their offense is gimmicky enough that there could be, if they run into a good defense, they could be in some trouble. I think they're going to hit a few roadblocks this year that'll keep them from being the top of the conference, but still be a really good and fun team to watch.
Yeah, I think the roadblocks that they hit are going to be ones that it could have gone either way versus the ones against like Carolina last season where you're like, how in the hell do you lose to a Carolina team that's just not there, right? They just don't have it. Or, you stumble against teams that you absolutely should have beat a broken down Clemson team, right? You should have beat that team last season. So I think there's definitely some question marks around them. But overall, like I'm excited to see Donovan Green next alongside A.T. Perry, and what he and Perry can do with Sam Hartman will be a very exciting offense. It's just that defense. They've got to figure it out. And they can't let guys like Army put up 50 against them. Like it's just not going to work.
That game itself showed like there's concerns that they play. You could even make an argument like if Malik Cunningham goes nuts against them, like will that be a track meet type of game? Yeah. And I could see Wake Forest dropping a few of those this year if they run into a team that can put points on them.
Yeah, that's very true. All right, number 2 team.
All right, this is going to be my controversial take because I'm going against the grain here. I'm putting Clemson at number 2.
Okay.
Because my number 1, I am still standing firm on my number 1 here.
Okay.
As we talked about last week, Candace, I said that I still have concerns preseason with where Clemson's at in terms of their coordinators, putting in a new system, not even putting in a new system, but continuing what Tony Elliott and Brent Venables did. There's a lot to talk about there, whether they're going to be able to do that or they're doing the wrong thing and they should have brought in new names to kind of hopefully revitalize certain aspects of it. But Dabo seems to know what he's doing. Yeah. That being said, this is preseason, right? Their offense still worries me. DJ is not. I need to see, as I said with my pre-rank. I'm not just going to take your word on it that he's going to turn it around, right? Mm-hmm. And he could, and he very well could be the answer, or they could go to their freshman Gabe Kluviak and figure out if he's the guy. But again, I need to see it, and I'm happy if Clemson's defensive line, which looks like a freight train that could take out any team that they're playing against. If they're that good, I am happy to put Clemson up to number 1. I'm just not there yet. I need to see a little bit more from them. And I think that could happen, but for the preseason, they're my number 2.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they bulldoze Georgia Tech, you're like, all right, Clemson didn't skip a beat. They're figuring out their own ready for, a new year. But not only do I think DJ, I need to see something, but the fact that I have to Google who your wide receivers are. And normally when we're talking about Clemson receivers, you know them because that's who everyone talks about, who everyone's excited about.
Justin Ross's and
exactly.
Mike Williams,
DeAndre Hopkins, all the guys, right? So it's going to be very much on DJ to kind of help elevate because he knows, I mean, as much as Dabo has all the vote of confidence in the world for him, we're not going to sit here and pretend like the door is not knocking for Cade if things don't go the way DJ wants them to. That's just the reality of the beast. That is college football these days.
Right, absolutely, yeah. Like I still believe that there's a very good, we're talking about the different paths season could take. There's a very good, strong possibility that Clemson is the number 1. I just need to see it before I see a little pieces of it to make me a believer in the Tigers.
1,000%. All right, so your number 1 team for the Atlantic Division is
Syracuse. No, I'm kidding.
What?
Hey, some people, I say, there's some folks out there that believe in them.
Okay, some people they don't sleep on. Okay, we'll get to there. I know,
but you can. I mean, hey, you can make an argument for any team in the Atlantic and to have something that goes right for them to be a number 1. For me, it's got to be NC State. They're my team du jour for the conference. I love the balance that they have on both sides of the ball. I think Devin Leary is very good and does what they need to get that team to that next level. Is he a superstar quarterback that is electric? I don't think he's that. But does he that's going to burn the Wolfpack? No. Mm-hmm. Plus, they get linebacker Peyton Wilson back. They've got a good defense on that other side of the ball. So I think they're balanced enough that I like their balance more than Clemson, honestly. Yeah. And I think this will be the year that they may get to the ACC title game.
Yeah, listen, I think they have a healthy level of expectations. I was talking about this on 99.9 The Fan with Joe Obius, and I feel like NC State understands the assignment and they're ready to deliver on said assignment. Like some people, they want to play with that chip. They want to be the guys that everyone doesn't believe in and prove wrong, But like, yeah, we believe in y'all. Like we believe that y'all can be good. You're supposed to be good. You have the pieces. You have the players. You have all the talent in the world to be excellent. So yeah, if you're not good, then we start to ask the questions of maybe you guys just have a ceiling, and that's okay. Some people are always going to be really good and not great. Unfortunately, it's been on the side of NC State to be really good, just not great. And so maybe the tide is turning so they can propel into a consistently good or great program, right? So I'm ready to see that for them as well.
Yeah. I think this, how many years have we been talking about the Wolfpack taking that next step?
Yeah.
And they're just always on the edge of doing it. But it just seems just like Wake Forest was last year that this will be NC State's year. And, I'm sure I'm going to be wrong. So that's what I love about making these preseason.
I would hate to be wrong only because I haven't been so hype about them. I've been told everybody who's asked me who I think is going to win is NC State. So I'm going to be pissed because I believe in y'all. I'm going to be all full Tyra Banks mode of like, I was rooting for you. We were all damn near rooting for you. So there's that. But there's a bottom of the barrel. There are teams that we're not really over the moon about, you could say. We're not really running to each stadium to see. So would love to get your thoughts on teams that are slowly just one for each of the divisions who you're like, all right, show me something. My God, please. Let's start with the Atlantic.
So say that again. What are you looking for?
Teams at the bottom.
Oh, the teams at the bottom, starting with the Atlantic?
Yes.
All right. So this was a tough one, and I'm going to go with Syracuse.
Okay.
And it was tough. It was almost between BC and Syracuse. And BC
really?
Fans, my locals that are listening to me are going to shoot me for saying it. But again, if I'm going to be fair and doing my preseason polls and doing it based off of I need to see things, they're below Louisville at this point. Louisville beat BC last year. I know Djokovic wasn't there. Yeah. But it's between Syracuse and BC. But with Djokovic back, I think that gives BC a bit of an edge over Syracuse.
Syracuse is very surprising from you.
I know, right?
This might be a little reverse psychology, but go ahead. I'm rocking with it.
For Syracuse, they remind me, as talking about Boston College, like BC in like 2019 with AJ Dillon, where you had AJ Dillon and not a lot else. And Syracuse has Sean Tucker, and I'm not sold on Garrett Schrader. I don't think they have any depth at quarterback other than him. So I don't see much on that offense. The defense should be good. That Dino Babers, to Dino Babers' credit, he has put together a good defense. So especially in the secondary, he's always put together a really good pass defense. That being said, the Atlantic is so stacked. I have no idea how they could beat some of the teams that they're going to face.
Yeah.
Tucker can try his best to try to drag out games, but you can't drag out Wake Forest, team like Louisville, because they're going to just score quick. Yep. And I think that's a big issue for Syracuse heading into this year. And all the credit to them, because they absolutely could still be a team that 4 weeks from now, I'm saying, nope, they're not the bottom anymore, because they're not a bad team. They are absolutely not a bad team, but I'm still going to have to put them at the bottom of the Atlantic.
Yeah, it's like, listen, Dina, at the end of the day, everybody can make a leap. Every team in the Atlantic can get better, but it seems as if y'all are not on the same boat to getting better. You're not riding the tide of like, we're all elevating. We're all going to throw something in the pot and have some games that are head scratchers, losses, and ones that were dominant performances. We need you to be in the conversation. And to me, for the past couple of years, Dino and company just haven't been in the conversation. They've had good players, but they have not had a good program as a whole.
Well, the big issue with them too is, it's two Northeast programs. I cover Boston College. Syracuse, their recruiting is not good.
Yeah.
As much as their writers want to make it, they're on a plane than BC. BC is a mile ahead of where they're at. And that is concerning about the future of Syracuse, because they're not attracting the level of players that a school like Boston College, Wake Forest, the other teams in their conference. So even just looking ahead to this year or next year, Dino is not winning those types of recruiting battles. And that's, the teams that his school is beating are like, it reminds me of early Boston College under Adazio. Like, you're beating MAC schools. That's great. Good job, Dino. That's a big concern for me with Syracuse moving forward, is that they're not, and honestly, Syracuse is in. Who wants to go to Syracuse? I mean, hold on, I gotta take my stuff back here.
It's a hard sell for sure. But not only is it hard to recruit because of where it is, it's also hard to recruit because you're saying, am I going to get better as a player? Like, I think that's the other piece of Dino's recruiting.
Yeah.
Like, you see guys go there, they transfer for whatever reasons, or they get there and they don't elevate their game, which of course everyone goes to college to do so. So you certainly got to ask yourself that when you're looking at Syracuse. And again, why we're so hard on them. But as we talk about Atlantic, there is another team in the Coastal who's at the bottom of the barrel. And of course, it's a running joke. I'm very high on them, but it's a running joke of who they are. So go ahead, AJ.
So I DM'd Candace before the show, and I said, poor Duke. As I'm sitting there with my 1-year-old asleep on me, and I'm going, I've been talking a lot we've talked about how Mike Elko has this program going in the right direction. And are they a team that could buy in? And then I was thinking about some of the other conversations I've had about another team that I feel like, looking at their schedule, has even before they even play a game, has absolutely no chance at all, is Georgia Tech. I looked at their out of conference schedule and went, what the hell did they schedule? They've got Ole Miss,
they got big brass,
UCF, and Georgia. Good luck. And they get Clemson as their cross conference game. This team is not winning 2 or 3 games this year. Georgia Tech is my bottom of the barrel. Duke can figure some stuff out this year. They're going to probably build a culture, I bet, under Mike Elko and find some sort of identity and win some games. Georgia Tech, I don't even know how they're going to win anything given what they have to play.
That's a really great point. I think strength of schedule or weakness of schedule or how tough your schedule is certainly going to be a factor. And Duke certainly has some gimmies, and Georgia Tech has a damn hate it for you. They have a lot of hate it for you.
Look at that schedule. Like on Twitter, so on my site, Eagle Insider, someone sent me a message like, why does BC play Maine? Why we should cancel that game this year, which makes no sense, and play ECU because that's better. Why are we playing FCS schools? We should play really tough schedules. And I said, look at what Georgia Tech is doing. Do you want to be Georgia Tech? Because they're going to get steamrolled this year. And anything that Jeff Collins has done that could be positive is going to get completely wiped out by the fact that the record's going to be terrible. Yeah. So, like, they're just setting themselves up for failure. That is a brutal schedule for the Yellow Jackets, and they're going to be the bottom for me.
100% agree. Well, that's a really great insight because a lot of people would say Duke. So I appreciate your slight positivity for them and very real honest conversation about the Yellow Jackets. AJ, it's always a pleasure to have you here on the show. Can you please remind the folks of where they can find you, follow your work?
Yeah, absolutely. You can follow me on Locked On BC. We're up 5 days a week. I'm going to start going to camp, so you'll have some insider information. I'm also the editor and publisher of Eagle Insider, so I've got all the recruiting scoops that you want. If you want to become a member, just head over to Eagle Insider. You can sign up today. We have some special deals for those who want to become a new subscriber and get all my recruiting tidbits and good stuff that you're going to find nowhere else on the Boston College websites.
No doubt. AJ Black, Candace Cooper. Make sure you guys come back next week. We'll have the number one team that we feel like is going to win it all here in the ACC. So we appreciate you. As always, follow at Locked On ACC. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next time.